Why are so many people resisting change these days? This is a common question that I get from a ton of leaders, and the answer to that actually is not probably what you're expecting. We are going to dive in today around the new era of change leadership, and what it looks like today, where people are more lonely than ever, more burnt out than ever, and you are trying to get them to adopt a new way of working when they're already change fatigued. A lot of the old concepts of change adoption, change management no longer work. So we're going to be talking about today what does work. I am Amanda Prochaska. I am the founder of Wonder Services. We are an organization that focuses on change leadership, change adoption of digital transformation, but now also the AI era. And we get this question a lot from leaders. I just feel like everyone is change fatigued. People are resisting change more than ever. And I don't believe it's because the change is not a good one. It is because people just don't have the energy or the capacity to adapt to yet another change. So especially like I was mentioning earlier, you have people that are lonely, you have people that are burnt out, and they're just fundamentally tired. And so under this constant stress in corporations, like what you have, all the dynamics that are going on in the world today, you have constant reorgs in corporate organizations, new leadership coming in maybe every 2 to 3 years. You have also constant change. We went from, when I started in my career, we had one major project that lasted 5 years. It was an SAP project, and that was years ago, but that was like the core focus. We knew we were going through that one major change. Now, because of technology the way it is, we have constant change almost and multiple projects going on. So maybe it takes like 8 to 12 weeks to deploy a new technology, and you have 5 or 6 of those programs going on at the same time. You're acquiring companies, you're divesting companies, you're asking your employees to do more with less. And then they have this looming cloud of AI and agentic AI coming their way, and there's a ton of questions about that. And there's just no time to breathe, right? It is a constant pressure that organizations are going through. And people, I believe, are at the point of just not having the capacity to change. So especially if you think of like our older type of an approach, I'll give you 2 examples here of the old techniques that we used to use in change management. One of them was ADKAR, which is a great model. It worked really well for me. I've used it a lot in my career, where you build awareness and the knowledge and the desire and all that kind of fun stuff. But it's usually a top-down approach where leaders are trying to convince the rest of the organization to move through this change. And when you're yet again asking someone who is already at capacity with change to change, you're getting, not because they don't want to change. Let me be clear. People, I think, want to change. They understand the value. They just physically do not have the capacity to do it. So the ADKAR model is kind of falling short in this current environment. The other one is where you have a burning platform, or the ADKAR method, where you create, like you say, hey, if we don't do this, this horrible thing is going to happen, or this horrible thing is already happening, and therefore you need to change, or we need to change in general. Seems great in concept, but when you're talking to someone who already believes that not just that one platform is burning, but like maybe 10 or 12 of them are burning in their lives right now, it is very hard to say that fix is the most important one when they feel like there's so many other things that are going wrong today. So it's very hard to convince that person who is feeling that way to change. And understanding the environment that we're in, we're not asking leaders to take a pause and let everyone catch their breath. Like, that's just not the reality that we live in. It is ideal to take a break, but the market just simply will not allow it. AI is not slowing down, neither are your competitors. So you need to be at pace, but we need to also help our organizations understand how to manage the paradox of needing time to rest, but the market not allowing it, but we still need to make progress. So this really leads to the central question of the video. How can you lead change effectively in this exact moment? And I would like to give you a couple of tips around how to do that. In fact, I'm coming out with a book. It's called Alice Leading Change in the AI Era, where you can learn more about these concepts. It's a perfect moment to take a step back and understand the new realities of leadership, especially when you are leading change. So how do you create change when everyone's gas tanks are already on empty? So the first thing is that I tell people all the time is that the more real you can get with people, and this is actually the A in Alice, it's act with authenticity. The more real you can be with people, the better off we're going to be. People are starving for empathy, for real leadership, for the opportunity to be heard, for community, and for true inspiring hope at this moment in time. A lot of people, I just saw a study of young people and they're hopeless, right? Like they feel like there's not a lot of hope in this world. So as a leader can show up and act with authenticity and say, you know what, I understand, man, I feel this right now. I understand that that we're all kind of exhausted, that we need to move through this process to get to where we need to be. And the way that I train leaders to do this is to think about the journey versus the outcome. The more often you as a leader can talk about where we are today, what is it going to take to get there? How are we going to pull together as a team to get there? What's the work that's going to be involved? How are we going to feel as we go through it? People will buy into that more often than the fire approach or the we're just going to do it anyway and create awareness about it approach. So what people are really looking for, I think they inherently understand that we can't slow down the pace necessarily, but what they're craving is actual leadership. That's what they want. And I think if you can bring that to the table through first acting with authenticity and doing all those things about focusing on the journey versus the outcome, you are going to get better results on your change than you ever have before. The next thing that I would say is that leading with love is the L in Alice, and that to me is all about listening. If you can make sure that people feel heard during the change, when people feel heard, their amygdala, their stress response actually shrinks, which is a really cool thing because they can stay calmer for longer. They can feel maybe less stress in their body. Their cortisol levels will decrease as trust increases. So the physicality of the response when you're leading change is awfully important, especially if someone's already high on the cortisol levels or that they're already in kind of this going limbic, this constant state of stress reaction. You as a leader, you can be a light of hope for these individuals to be real, to make sure that they're listened to, that they feel heard, and that they can trust you. And then the physical response will help them kind of move through that change more effectively. You can inspire others by giving them hope. You can create community, which I'm going through the Alice method right now at a very high level, but creating community so no one feels alone, especially as loneliness is at the all-time highs. Like, how do we create community within our organization to make sure that no one feels like they're going through a change alone? And then how do we engage purposely with people in the organization that people are already naturally following to get them engaged? So again, you can read more about Alice in my upcoming book, which we'll drop the link below, but giving you a high level overview where the main focus is moving away from what I would say change management methodologies to true change leadership. That's what people need right now, where we can show up, we can be vulnerable and authentic, we can listen, we can provide that hope, the community, and we can activate our networks effectively to make sure that we're not the only ones pushing the change too, that there are other people who can do the same things within our network. Now, the other thing that I would say is that we can also do our job around rebuilding energy and momentum within our organizations. Alice will help you do that, but I think there's also a way for us to maybe take a step back at times and help our teams rebuild their energy. And that can show up in all kinds of different ways. And no, I'm not talking about pizza parties necessarily, but I am talking about how do we celebrate our wins? How do we acknowledge the hard work that people are doing? But then also, how do we think about the work differently, the day-to-day? So I've heard some people who are back in the office who, instead of sitting in an office cube, they do a walking meeting for their one-on-ones. So they get out, they see the sunshine, they feel the wind on their face, and they can hear the birds chirping, right? So there are ways that we can, as leaders, think about how are we changing the energy levels within our organization, having those small moments of celebration, small moments of beauty and recognition of the good that is all around us. So the other thing that we can do is also continuing to think about what's truly a priority in the lives of our team. So is there something that we can remove to make space for this new change? Is there something that used to be a priority that's no longer a priority that we can remove from the plates of our organization? So that is a really positive way of building the space for a new change, is recognizing that everyone's plates are full and priorities do change. So if we can remove something from the priority or just pause it, right? Maybe it's not a priority any longer, but we'll pick it back up later in the year. That is always a good thing to do. Now, the last thing that I will say is that there also, with this new agentic AI era that we're getting into, there's going to be, I personally think, less top-down, where you can build teams of people, 4 to 6 people who know how to do the work, they know where the gaps are, train those people on how to create the agents and how to deploy those agents, train them, etc., so that they feel like they're part of the change versus being told about the change. The cool thing about this new technology is that I think that that's the best way to deploy it anyway, because agentic AI is very focused, very on the process. It's kind of, let's just say, a spot solution at times, where it can be super focused on one particular pain point, and the people that know that pain point the best can build it, right? To build the solution to fix it. So I think that is a really great way of, you can leverage Alice. You can celebrate the wins, think about energy levels, have a strategy around your team's energy levels, to remove things from their plate as new change is coming, subtract work from their plates that is no longer a priority. And then use the knowledge on your team to build and deploy the new technologies. I think that recipe will go a long way for you to be successful in this era, to combat what's naturally already there, the burnout levels, the loneliness levels, the change fatigue levels, the lack of hope. You can be a catalyst for that change and be that shining light for your organization and for your team, and possibly even for yourself. So I hope that this video was amazing. Again, check out the link below. We are getting pre-registered for the book, Alice Leading Change in the AI Era, will be coming out shortly. So please take a look for that, and we will talk to you soon.